What the hell is this thing?
This is Robosaurus.
Leave it to Chum to show me the biggest, most impractical thing I've ever seen.
It's our 31-ton, 45-foot, basically a transformer that eats cars, eats airplanes. We could actually lift your bikes up if you'd like.
Touch my bike, I'll kill you.
We can do a bargain today for about $1 million.
Holy
That's an original Banksy.
That's amazing. That one is too?
This one is an original screen print. Welcome to hell.
I would see this piece, the Monkey Detonator, on a good day in auction, achieving 900,000, maybe more.
Pounds.
We all know that Rick would never settle for less when it comes to purchasing unique items. So, you can imagine the worth of this classic piece Rick literally went out of his way to acquire. Are you curious about what item this is? Well, you're about to find out.
Definitely a wow moment.
A wow moment, right. This is an extremely rare July 1776 printing of the Declaration of Independence.
This is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my career.
I've been in this market for years, and it's a thrill to handle something like this.
Interesting. As usual, Rick starts by displaying his background knowledge on the Declaration of Independence broadside. And boy, does he have a lot to say about this epic document.
It's just incredible. This was right after the 4th of July. I think it was John Dunlop was a printer in Philadelphia. He goes out and basically takes a copy from Congress and writes it all out, then goes back to the print shop, lays out his print, and starts printing these. They think he printed right around 200 of them.
All right, that's enough. Looking at how Rick spoke highly about the document, one would think he was the seller. The seller, Jeremy, didn't have much to say about the document until Rick asked him about the price he would sell it for.
So how much are you looking for this?
This was displayed at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. It's in exceptional condition. It's extremely scarce. $2 million.
Okay. Everything looks right on it, but I just want a document expert to look at it.
Sure.
I have one coming down.
$2 million? Oh, we're also curious to hear what the expert says about this declaration document, especially its valuation. Rick's expert is in the house. Let's see what he says about the subject matter, shall we?
Everything looks right to me, but like, I don't want to be 99% sure.
Right. I normally would have to take this out of the frame to authenticate it, but I've actually seen this exact copy before. Some of the things that we looked at when I first authenticated this was to compare this to all of the known copies of the same broadside.
However, the expert, Seth, still has more to say about determining the document's authenticity.
People think of the Declaration of Independence as the signed copy, but that was actually done a month later, really as a souvenir.
It's 100% legit.
Absolutely.
All right. Brass tacks, what is it worth?
Particular one is a really beautiful copy. It's just a wonderful broadside, an important relic of history, and the world changed.
Wow! For something that looks like a mere piece of paper, it sure is worth a whole lot of money. That shows that it isn't just a piece of paper after all. However, would Rick be purchasing this document? Keep watching, and you'll get the answer to that shortly.
Give you like $1.4 million.
I mean, it's a fair point you make about the fees. I mean, you know, I know how it works. I would sell it to you for $1.5 million.
Okay. I'll meet you in the middle. 1.45, I think that's fair. I think we can both be happy with that.
You know, I think we got a deal.
Next, there's a unique piece of Banksy art for sale, and Rick is not about to lose on this holy grail. Although he is skeptical about the price of the art, he is not ready to give up. Banksy art is well known and was named after the famous Banksy artist. Surprisingly, it's not only one piece, but two. Let's see if these pieces are worth Rick's money, shall we?
That's an original Banksy.
That's amazing. So it's Monkey Detonator, right?
Yes, made in 2002. It's an original piece made out of a stencil and spray on board.
That's pretty amazing. Is that one his too?
Absolutely.
Interesting. Rick looks to be highly interested in the art pieces. He couldn't help but ramble on about them. Here, take a look.
He came up with his own particular style, so when you see a Banksy, you say that's Banksy. He has got that crazy mystique about him because no one knows who he or she is. And it's literally the most popular art in the world now. I mean, it is the hottest art. There will be a day when a Banksy breaks the $100 million mark.
These two are getting deeper into examining the art pieces. Now that Mikhail has brought up the certificate of authenticity, Rick seems more interested in purchasing them both.
How much?
Well, my client wants 750,000 pounds.
I don't know the exact exchange rate, but that would be right around $900,000.
More or less.
And the rat?
The owner asked for 15,000 pounds.
right around 18,000 American.
More or less.
I arranged for a local expert that was recommended to me. He's an expert in street art and Banksy.
That's right. Rick will not spend all that money on anything without getting it checked. He is determined to bring the art pieces back home. But first, let's see what the expert has to say.
So this is the Monkey Detonator, and easily identifiable as a Banksy just from the overspray. You see how he sprays and there's slight blurred lines?
Yeah, I mean, it screams Banksy.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about it?
It's an important work by him, and it's obviously an early work by him.
So what do you think of this one?
I mean, Banksy's rats are his signature.
Good question. The expert examined the certificate Michael, the seller, produced earlier. Let's see what he thinks about it.
Very lucky that Banksy invented this system so we can check that with pest control, so knowing it's a real McCoy.
Okay.
So I can tell from the certificate and by certain security features that this is a legitimate Banksy.
Cool.
And do you have the certificate for the original as well?
Yes, the owner is currently traveling on a business trip, and we can send you the certificate.
Okay.
Wow, that's even more than the seller's proposed price. The big question on your mind is probably, will Rick be going for these pieces? Well, you're about to find out.
500,000 pounds total. That's $600,000.
I'm afraid that for this price, we are a bit far. I was able to reach the owner. Congratulations, we have a deal at 700,000 pounds.
I offered 650.
My client is a very tough businessman, and believe me, the market will continue to grow. It's a great deal you have on your hand. You won't regret it.
Jimmy comes into the pawn shop with an original Beatles contract. That's mind-blowing if you ask me. What's more, it's a signed agreement between Brain, the manager, and the Beatles. Jimmy is ready to enlighten us more about the contract because he seems to know more than Rick. Let's see what goes down between this duo, shall we?
Articles hereby appoint the manager to act as their manager throughout the world for a period of 5 years from the first day of October 1962.
And the agreement basically states what Brian Epstein's cut would be, including vaudeville, concerts, movies, merchandise. Beatles actually got paid a lot less than he did.
Okay, Rick acknowledges this contract and is wowed that it's an original contract. However, he is also curious about how he got his hands on something this rare. Even I would wonder the same.
Brian Epstein actually got them a record deal.
That is correct.
Brian Epstein was a genius. He basically transformed the Beatles from an unknown band playing small clubs into the biggest rock band ever. To actually have his original contract in front of me is surreal.
Nice. Jimmy came prepared with all the receipts to prove the contract's authenticity. He is seeking a high sale, which is a huge price for Rick. He wants to call in someone to check out this legendary item.
Never been altered.
Okay, how much do you want for it?
$1 million.
That's a lot of money. I'm gonna call my guy. I just want to make sure everything is 100% cool before we start talking price. You know, I can imagine someone spending a ridiculous amount of money to make a brand new one of these.
I totally understand.
Hang out, I'm gonna get him down here momentarily.
That's right. The expert claims it is one of the most significant contracts in history. But are the signatures authentic? Let's find out.
I'm going to start off at the top with John Lennon. I'm just looking for live ink. I'm looking for overlapping.
And the overlapping is where it gets darker.
Yeah, it starts to get darker. You could see one pen stroke go over the other. I see no reason to believe at all that this is printed. It's not a stamp. It's not a copy or anything. These are definitely live signatures on here, so that's a good thing.
The contract's authenticity has been confirmed. Now, let's move on to bargaining.
All right, so you're still stuck at $1 million?
I really got to get $1 million. I could probably take it to one of the major auction houses tomorrow, and I really believe that I could probably get $1 million reserve on this.
Okay, you take the risk. I would go $350. That's cash right now. If you don't take that, I would wait for another auction.
I'm going to have to decline on the $350.
Good luck with it.
Rick heads to Boston to check out a coin. But guess what? It is not your regular kind of coin. It is the first to be minted on US soil. Can you imagine how valuable such a piece is? Well, let's see how this goes.
Colonial coins, that's the Holy Grail. These were the first coins struck in the colonies. They were really, really proud of it, even though it's possibly the plainest coin ever made.
I have a 1652 New England silver shilling. I found the coin about 30 years ago in the Boston area.
Interesting. Rick analyzes the coin in depth. He realizes it's in good condition, making it a good starter for a great deal. How much will Edwards sell this coin for? Let's find out.
Anywhere between $250,000 upwards of $400,000. So I think that's a good starting point.
You didn't give me a starting point.
So how about $300,000?
What about 2 1/4?
I don't know if I'd want to go that low. 250?
At 250, I still make some money, so we got a deal.
Next, a man walks in with an Alpha Black Lotus card illustrated by Christopher Rush. Chum is stunned by that iconic piece and wonders where the seller got this rare illustration. It looks like he has been saving up to get it. Commendable. He also has a lot more to say about the card than the card master himself. Let's hear from him.
I might have played Magic once or twice, but not very much. But I definitely know about the Black Lotus. It's very iconic. It was one of those cards that was so low printed and it was so powerful that for several years this was just a staple of the deck until eventually Wizards of the Coast ended up banning the card in competitive play.
He wants to get into the business of the day, which is to find out how much the card is worth. With the look on Chum's face, he is definitely tempted to get this item, but it's best that he has someone come over to check it out to avoid an earful from the boss.
I have read about these cards being faked, where they take like
quite a bit
more modern version printed up from overseas, and
they
then
do
kind of
international sets and things like that, and they do what's called a reback.
I still would like to have someone come over and take a look at it. Matt, my guy from CGC, is actually here in the crowd right now.
Now that the expert is here, let's authenticate this item further. What could possibly be the outcome? I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it'll be good.
That's a beautiful card right there. I mean, you can't get better than that with Magic the Gathering. For the limited edition Alpha set, there was 1,100 made. And actually, they called it limited edition. It was actually the first 2 sets, but there were differences between these 2 print runs, and then eventually become separated out into Alpha here, and then later on Beta.
Now that we've resolved the authentication issue, let's move on to the bargaining process. But there's an issue. The seller is fixated on the price he's offering. So, what is Chum going to do? Watch and see.
What do you think about what he said? Do you agree?
I think $85,000 is actually a pretty fair market price for this card.
Okay, and you're pretty firm on that, it sounds like?
I think so.
And you know, I understand it. A card like this, you kind of ask for what you want. At $85,000, I'm gonna have to pass because I really, truly enjoy my job, and I think this would be the final thing to get me fired.
Next up is something that will get you on your toes. A John Wilkes Booth wanted poster. The seller, John, bought it from a collector in hopes of reselling it. After a quick look at it, Rick claims that the poster is extremely rare.
This is a really, really important part of American history.
I came to the pawn shop today to sell my John Wilkes Booth wanted poster. A pristine poster of this type is worth around $100,000. My poster is not quite pristine, so I'm hoping to get maybe a third of that, and I want to use the money to buy more documents.
Yes, this is a story that almost everyone knows. It is well known as the largest manhunt in American history. Anyway, let's get down to business.
Famous actors in America, and he was even rated like the handsomest man in America or something like that?
Yeah, and the most photographed man at one time.
Everyone knows the story from history class. John Wilkes Booth shot Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater, then jumped down to the stage and escaped. It was just a massive shock to the country.
Okay, before Rick moves on, he needs to know if the poster is legitimate. It's essential that he is cautious when it comes to rare items such as this one. So, let's see what his expert thinks.
I'm gonna go give my buddy a call. This guy knows everything there is to know about things like this. Let me get him down here. We'll get this thing figured out.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Thanks, man.
If this is real, this is amazing. It should be in a museum, but it's not. It's in my shop, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get it.
Moving on, he examines the poster with an original one he already has. But guess what? The seller's piece is an early reproduction.
I think we have an early reproduction. It's not a modern piece at all. Could have been for the 50th anniversary of the murder of Abraham Lincoln.
So what do you think it's worth?
It's probably worth under $100.
Okay.
Well, what next? Rick's eyes are on the expert's original poster and he is tempted to buy it. What a change of game. He really knows how to use every opportunity in sight. How much is he willing to sell for?
Here comes opportunity. Now that I got a real one in my sights, I'm just hoping we can make a deal.
Sorry that didn't work out for you, but we'll see you later.
Why don't you hang out for a little bit? So, what do you want for this thing?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I can't begin to tell you how much I want this thing. It would look great on my wall.
It looks like he's not ready to negotiate any lower and wants a higher sale. What are the chances of getting him to negotiate better? Let's find out.
When Rick offered to buy my client's authentic broadside, I was just blown away. I had no idea he was going to do that, and it was really fantastic that he had the interest, but we just couldn't get there.
You can't blame me for trying, right?
Not at all. Not for a moment.
Okay, have a good one.
Take care.
Let's see what Chum is up to as he drags Corey to check out this gigantic Robosaurus that took 2 years and $2.2 million to build. When the boys got to where the Robosaurus was, they couldn't believe their eyes.
This is Robosaurus. It's our 31-ton, 45-foot, basically a transformer that eats cars, eats airplanes, We could actually lift your bikes up if you'd like.
You touch my bike, I'll kill you.
Okay, well, we'll leave the bike alone.
I completely understand Corey's fear. However, the sellers aren't backing down. They proceed to offer Corey and Chum a tour of the Robosaurus. It has a lot of features and is definitely worth more money. Take a look at some of its features.
Check out this cockpit. You look through this front window, and that's where the pilot sits. You're strapped into a seat, your feet are on pedals, your arms lock into devices, so when you move your arms, the robot's arms move. All your fingers are in double-sided switches, so when you squeeze your finger and thumb like this, 24,000 pounds of crushing power.
Mind-blowing, right? Meanwhile, Corey remains skeptical about purchasing the Robosaurus, but is willing to see it go for a test run. After all, he needs to confirm if it is in good condition.
Well, let's fire this thing up and see what it does, man.
All right, let's go.
Leave it to Chum to show me the biggest, most impractical thing I've ever seen. On the other hand, I mean, it has a lot of value because it's famous. So if it's in good working condition, I'll make an offer.
Takes a second for him to get it going, and after it's going, guys, it'll do all the tricks.
From the look of that demonstration, the Robosaurus works perfectly. The boys are impressed with how it works. I have to admit, that's one badass Robosaurus, and even Chum attests to this. That aside, how much is Brooke selling this for?
Well, you know, we could do a bargain today for about $1 million.
Holy did he just use the M word as in 6 zeros?
And by the way, if you do it now, I'll throw in the tractor trailer.
Hey, he told us he was a transformer that turns into a tractor trailer.
So we'll throw that in.
He lied. He doesn't turn into a tractor trailer.
Well, he needs to be towed.
He's not a transformer, man, without that piece.
Rick goes to one of his buddy's pawn stores to see if he can find some interesting items, and it looks like he might have found something. Let's see what it is.
Now, I've got something here that will blow your socks off. This is what you've been looking for all your life.
All right.
Ready?
Ready. I'm ready. Wow. Absolutely beautiful.
Well, you think it's a piece of rusty metal, don't you? Well, it is a piece of rusty metal. Remember that really famous ship that would never sink?
Interesting. Hearing that the rusted metal was gotten from the Titanic ship sounds cool. So, this piqued Rick's interest, despite not knowing much about rusted metals. He even asked the seller for the price he was willing to sell it for. You wouldn't believe what this guy told Rick.
It's going to cost you £1.2 million. Yeah. If you can make anything over 1.2 million, that's my offer that I did 2 days ago, 1.2 million pound. If you can beat that, it's yours, mate.
Okay, so what else do you have?
John walks into the pawn shop with a Picasso ceramic owl vase, hoping to sell it. One of the most influential artists of the 20th century, Pablo Picasso himself, sculpted this. One fantastic thing about the vase is its uniqueness. What are Rick's thoughts on it?
This looks like one of his owl vases. He was making them in the 40s and 50s in France. I'm telling you, just the design of it is a hoot.
I'm at the pawn shop today to try to sell my Picasso wood owl vase. This Picasso piece is very unique because there were only 500 made.
Interesting. Rick further enlightens the seller about this Picasso vase, which looks like it is worth a lot of money. However, Rick isn't done with his story yet.
40s Picasso started getting interested in ceramics. And him and some other people came up with the idea, let's make Picassos for the masses. So they started coming up with ceramic ideas, and this owl was one of them. And it's sort of weird because they are limited edition of 500, but I know there's over at least 100 different owls, and each one of those is 500.
I see. Rick always treads carefully when it comes to vintage items, so he decided to hire an expert.
They are also incredibly hot on the market right now. The reason the auction houses like them is there's a lot of them, and that particular one I know for a fact he made 500 of. So it's not hard for them to get the supply. So if I put this to auction, my odds of selling it, it's about 90%.
Well, that's good news. However, the expert still needs to say whether the vase is authentic. Let's keep watching.
First thing we're gonna do is flip it over, and we're gonna look at the stamps. So it's got the edition Picasso, and very importantly, the lettering and everything is perfect on it. Another thing I look at is it's semi-glazed. Here is very shiny, here is not very shiny. That's good.
So far, so good. Now that the expert has provided the vase's valuation, is John still willing to sell at $35,000? How much is Rick willing to offer? Let's find out.
I get 15 grand for it.
No, it's not gonna make it.
I got salesman commissions, and I mean...
How about 19?
I go 16,000.
How about 19?
I'll give you 17,000.
Okay, I'll take it.
It looks like Chum bumped into a really cool piece for sale, a goat head Picasso. It is one pretty piece that was purchased 35 years ago. Let's see how this goes down.
This is a Picasso. Miriam is representing this prawn de chèvre sur la table. It means goat skull on table.
It is a pretty nice piece.
For sale?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. However, Chum cannot just dive into any purchase he doesn't know about without consulting the boss himself, Rick. He reaches out to Rick, who has expressed concerns about the purchase because Chum might make the wrong move.
What? I'm about to buy this Picasso. I just wanted to call you and let you know.
What are you doing me buying a Picasso?
No, really, it's cool. Look.
You don't know anything about Picasso. I thought you were just supposed to go over to Brett's and get something framed.
Talk to Rick for me.
Rick, hey, it's Brett. This is a Picasso we were going to bring in to put in the new gallery.
Well, I hope Chum sticks to the instructions Rick gave him. He proceeds to strike a bargain with Miriam. Let's see how it goes.
9,000.
Sorry. It's a Picasso. How about 14.5?
10.5?
What about 12?
10.5 is what I'm gonna offer.
11?
My boss might get mad. It is a Picasso. And I'll do 11,000.
All right.
John walks in with an ancient Roman artifact, the Ides of March denarius coin. Because of its stories, this coin should be one of the greatest in history. John is really lucky to have this in his possession, though not for too long. Anyway, let's see what happens at the pawn shop regarding this unique coin.
It's 2 daggers and it says Ides of March.
Is Brutus on the other side?
Yes. I'm at the pawn shop because I would like to see if I could sell my Ides of March coin. I think the coin is the holy grail of Roman coins. If I can sell it, I've got my eye on some rare coins that are coming up for auction in about a month.
Undoubtedly, Rick is also marveled by this item. Clearly, both men were prepared to spend the whole day discussing this coin. Rick asked John to tell him how the coin got into his possession. Here's what the coin connoisseur had to say.
I bought this from a dealer in California, probably in the mid-'80s.
It's just such amazing history. I mean, we still talk about it today. Brutus and some other guys in the Roman Senate got together and say, hey, when Julius Caesar shows up today, we're all going to walk up and say, hey, dude, what's up? And then we're all going to stab him.
Interesting. Now, let's move on to the coin's worth. Due to the coin's value, John was willing to sell at a high rate. However, Rick needed to consult an expert in this delicate situation. Let's see what the expert had to say.
When you told me you had a coin with 2 daggers and a cap on it, I ran down here.
It's like literally Game of Thrones when this was going on. I mean, everybody was vying for power.
Yes. With the collapse of the Republic and the paving of the way for the Empire, which literally changed history.
So far, so good. The expert examined the coin closely and concluded it was the real deal. He even suggested that Rick tries his best to get the coin. But will Rick have his way around this? Stay glued to find out.
If I give you 110,000, I know I will at least break even.
I've got to have more than that.
110 said.
Yeah, I don't think I can go below 140.
If you change your mind or have really bad luck while you're in town, come back and see me.
I appreciate it.